Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Couch Conversations with the Doctors, where true health is wealth. What's tonight? It is Monday night, and it is time for Couch Conversations with the Doctors. I want to remind everyone to share, and share again because it is Monday night. We're going to go around as we always do. I know we have some that will be attending a little later, but we're going to go around and we're going to start with our introductions of our esteemed panel
Yeah.
with my colleague who always leaves us and has fun in the sun. And I know that this weather has sent him away. That's our own Douglas Graham. Dr. Graham.
Nikki, that's right. I'm just trying to apply what I've learned here. I'm trying to get some fresh fruits and vegetables, trying to get some exercise and vitamin D the natural way. I'm a
All right,
retired physician. I worked in the western suburbs for 30 years and then spent 2 years in the representative's office. It was a wonderful experience. It's an honor to be here with my colleagues. I'm going to try and answer your questions as best I can.
outstanding. I want to say hey to Connie Taylor, who's sending a message saying, "Hey guys, I got some questions." Okay, Connie, get those questions together and bring them on to the gentleman who is a physician by day and a DJ by night. That's our very own Dr. Pete. Dr. Pete.
Hey, Nikki, I'm excited to be here with my colleagues. I appreciate this forum that you and Congressman Davis put together. I remember when we first started it during the pandemic, just a tremendous resource for the community. I kept hearing that from all my patients. And I think this is worthwhile noting that it's the first time that all three of the panelists are internal medicine docs. So
Whoa.
I appreciate that. We are locked in as internists.
Oh boy.
Hey, to the man who says I threaten him to be here every Monday night, but he is always on time. That's our very own Dr. James Miller. Dr. Miller?
Well, just want to say good evening and want to give thanks to Nikki and to the congressman for having this forum for us that we may be able to come together and discuss some issues as we see them that are going on and things that are coming up that affects people's health and well-being. And I am a retired internist. I retired in 2019, practiced about 40 years in and around the Chicago area. Um, have since retiring, I've continued to try to heal the community in other ways than hands-on examining patients and writing prescriptions because you know um, knowledge is golden and it's so valuable. And so what I try to do is that some of that information and knowledge that I've been able to obtain over the years to spread that and give that information to those that will receive it, and hopefully it will be beneficial to them and help them to have a healthier and happier life. So I'm here to do what I can to lead and to provide information that will help to make us to help us to have a better and healthier community.
Outstanding, outstanding. Congressman Davis?
I always say that I'm not going to get carried away at Christmas time, but I always do. As a matter of fact, it is a season that I don't care who you are, what your beliefs are, what your faith is, whether you have any or whether you don't. There's something about the season that makes it very special. And so I've had so many wonderful experiences in the last few days. Last night was just a tremendous cultural experience at the Emmanuel Lutheran Church down at Ashland and Roosevelt Road, where they put on a pageant. And to see all of the children as well as the older folks engaged in theatrics and acting out the birth and the life of the baby Jesus, the Savior, reinforced a lot of things for me. And so I want to thank Emmanuel Lutheran for inviting me to come and be with them at that. Plus, given the fact that it was Sunday, I also attended, I think, 3, 4 other churches. during the day. And in every last one of them, they sang Joy to the World. The Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart make room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. And it was a joyous occasion in all of those instances. Although some people there were crippled, they showed how Jesus, put the dirt and the mud and the spit in his hands and wiped the guy's eyes, and he could see. Uh, how they made the lame man walk, how he was able to bring joy. So when people feel good, they feel joy. When they're sick, they don't feel as much joy. And so I've got a number of friends who are either in the hospital, have been in the hospital. Some think they might be on their last leg. And I want to wish all of them a happy holiday season. But I want to thank all of you internal medicine physicians for helping people feel good. If I got a stomach ache and somebody can help me get rid of it, I feel real good about that. Or if I can just wake up in the morning and I'm hungry and I got a good, healthy appetite and I'm waiting to get whatever it is, and if I can consume that and not feel different, I feel good. So let me thank our ambassadors for healthcare for your participation. Appreciate the engagement throughout the year. And I can tell you, a lot of people don't know how to measure education. People say, how do you measure knowledge? How do you measure education? I can tell you that the tips that I received personally and the things that I've learned about my own body and what keeps me okay and what would happen to me when I veer, I have a great deal of personal appreciation for that because I like to feel good. I need to feel good. I want to feel good. So keep pumping this information out so that all of us can keep feeling good. So why don't we just go with that, Nikki, and proceed?
Well, Dr. Miller, why don't you get us started?
Okay, well, we are, I should say, we are in the holiday season, and with the holiday season come anticipation of joy and fun, but also some challenges. We most of our celebration tend to involve uh, things that make us, the Congress was talking about feeling good, make us feel good. We want to have good food. Some people want to imbibe in a few good drinks, things that make us feel good. But in those things, so we have that we have to make certain that we balance that so that our desires to feel good doesn't lead us into doing things that ultimately cause us to forget about all those things that we've learned during this year, and the practice and habits that we have started to make us healthy, and that we throw them out of the window, and then uh, they are outweighed by what we do on the holiday season. Now, I'm not coming with the Scrooge notion to say that we want to not have fun. We certainly want you to have fun, but we want you to be able to have fun in a way that's healthy, a way that is safe, and to do those things that are going to continue to grow your health, continue to maintain your health, and not to to forget about those things. I can remember during the years that I was in practice how, during these holiday season that are the season where people tend to eat a lot and drink a lot, and one of the big we've talked about one of the topics that we talked about before is gout, and how after the holiday season I saw a lot of patients with an acute flare up of their gout related to what they had eaten and drank during the holiday. So they're good things to have, and or get that patient whose blood sugar comes back at 800 or 900 because they had too much fun, or they spent things that they spent too much time concentrating on the fun part of the holiday without thinking about the safety of their bodies and their health. So we just want to sort of get into a conversation of talking about how we can have both fun and still maintain good healthy practices. On this forum we've talked a lot about diet, exercise, avoiding stress, getting the proper rest as being things that are good to help you to be healthier if you do them in the right portions, as opposed to not doing those things. So it's important that you continue to do your exercise. I know you may change your schedule a little bit, but don't forget that that is part of your healthy activity that you're going to need. We know that somebody's going to have dinner, and you're going to either prepare the dinner, or you're going to be invited to dinner, or you're going to go out to dinner. So again, have fun, but don't forget about those things that you learned that is going to keep you healthy. So I just want to sort of open that up, and then ask my colleagues to jump in, and let's start talking about it. One of the things that they always say that don't go to the party hungry. When you go to the party,
Right.
you haven't eaten enough for the whole day because you're saving it up to have that big holiday dinner, and you go to the party hungry, which means that now you're fitting to overeat. And so let's sort of hit on that topic of what people need to do in terms of preparation for the dinner, in terms of how we prepare ourselves for the meal or whatever it is that we finna the celebration that we're going to attend. So,
Yeah.
you guys can jump in there.
Dr. Miller, these are some really good points. And I would say this, even before you go to the dinner, even before you are on your way, there's some things that you can do prior to, like getting a decent night's sleep. We know that when you don't sleep well, or you don't sleep enough, your body produces excess levels of cortisol, stress hormones. Those tend to make you store fat easily. Stress, right? So you can prep your body even before you even approach the meal. You can prep your body from a biochemical perspective by reducing your stress, getting enough sleep, and drinking water. So most times, most people are chronically dehydrated because we spend so much time indoors, and we have all of this condensed heat, and so you're dehydrated, so you might appear to be hungry when you're really just thirsty. So drinking water, reducing your stress, getting enough sleep to help you prepare for that day. And then I always tell my patients, I'm like, okay, cool, you can go in on Christmas, but it ain't like it's like you gonna go Christmas, post Christmas, post Christmas. You got 9 days that you killing, the mac and cheese and all that. Come on, just tell yourself ahead of time, I got 2 days of this. That's it. And after that, give all that food away, pack people's plates, go home with this. I don't need it here because it's not gonna do me any good.
Dr. Graham?
So I really like what Dr. Pete has to say. I really like the idea of hydrating before you go. So you're not drinking that extra Coke, that extra Pepsi, that extra beer.
Yep.
And I really like the idea of not taking the stuff home, because I tell you, open up that refrigerator door and you see that cheesecake in there. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to have that for lunch and then maybe for something for dinner. So I think that's a great idea. The other thing is I like having enough time to get there so I'm not rushed. So I'm less stressed and less tense. I also like to take a look at the room. who's there, who I want to talk to, who I want to meet. But I also want to take a look at the spread and thinking like, well, I really don't need this chips and dips. There's some fresh fruit and vegetables out there. I think I'm going to focus on that area because understand there isn't a Dorito I haven't met that I don't like. There isn't a pizza that I said no to, right? I know the more that I have, the less good I'm going to feel. So I want to make it through this party and be good cheer at the end. So that's my strategy.
Well, let me tell you, I just left, of course, not long ago. We had our annual Christmas party, and we had about 500 people there. And we actually ran out of food. Something we never ever do. We never ever run out of food. And we ran out of food with about 100 people who hadn't been fed. We went around to all the restaurants we could find, gathered up, and when they brought the stuff back, I looked and saw what it was: fried chicken, white potatoes, 2 biscuits. They did as and some corn. They had corn and mashed potatoes, and I thought that was a little overdue. So he said, "You want some crunch? No, don't give me no corn. I'll just take the mashed potatoes and just a little bit of that, not very much." But this business of having fun, sometimes just the joy and seeing people enjoy. Like I really didn't expect that many people to come to this luncheon. I mean, we knew we'd have a good bunch, but I really wasn't looking for that many on a Monday because you just had a great big dinner Sunday. I mean, traditionally. But it was fun. The mayor came by, and of course, he was in a hurry. Therefore, we didn't have much left for him. But if he had wanted a piece of chicken, we could have given it to him. But how does all of this relate to health? Because I'm hearing people say that Christmas or holidays are a bad time for them because they get to remembering their loved ones who've passed away or somebody meaningful in their lives who are no longer here. And so, how would you recommend that people who have those kind of experiences, what can they do to brighten up the time a little bit for themselves, remembering their loved ones who've gone on?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've always recommended to my patients, and one of the things that I do myself is that I try to surround myself with other people who may be sharing some of these same friendships. Whether it be other family members or be friends that were friends of the people that I'm going to be that are in my memory and that are going to be coming up. Sometimes we come up because maybe it's that time of the year that we did some things special, or maybe it's that time of the year that they passed on. And so, but having people that you enjoy being with, people that you love, that know how to help you share that load and know how to help to divert your attention from things that may be making you feel badly. Generally, we say that people get what's called the holiday blues, and it's usually those people that suffer the most from this are those people that are kind of isolated by themselves, and that once you get into that, I say once you get in that ditch, you're scuffling trying to get out, and you often can't get out by yourself. You need somebody to give you a helping hand. And if there isn't anybody there with you that know about what it is that you may be going through and maybe experiencing some of those kinds of things and can help you deal with it in a different kind of way, as opposed to you just sort of getting getting overcome by the things that you're thinking about by yourself. And some people like to get together and play the blues on holiday, and that's and generally what what it is, they're they're feeling blue and they play the blue because it makes you want to hear about things that make you that are expressing what you feel, but sometimes it's just not good to be blues and then to listen to the blues, and it's more difficult because then you tend to sink further into the blues as opposed to being able, if there's something joyous, something different to help you get out of it. But I try to share the holidays and share with other people as opposed to being by yourself, or even just being in a crowd of people that you don't know. It's kind of similar kind of things, even though you may be having fun with some of these people, but they don't know you. They don't know what you might be going through. And there's sometimes, things that you're going through. It's difficult to really get the story across to a bunch of people that don't know you, who are stranger to that situation.
Well, I like this blues that Charles Brown used to sing. Merry Christmas, baby. Be your Santa Claus. I'll come down your chimney. Full of toys.
That's kind of a joy.
I'm gonna see if I can find that, Congressman.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I agree with Dr. Miller. I'm reading this book called Atomic Habits by James Clearing, and two of the things he talks about the difference between perception and perspective. And so instead of perceiving this to be a sad time when your mom is not there anymore, or you got relatives, friends who have gone on and passed, you can have perspective and think how blessed you are right now to have had those people in your life, and to still have the memories of those folks, and to be in a space where you can share those memories. So, to have that perspective, you have to be intentional, because I tell my kids this all the time too. You don't have to own every thought, every emotion that comes across your brain. You don't have to own it. Yes, the thought of mom being here, may have come through my brain, but you can flip that to say, hey, how blessed I was to have had her for the 79 years or whatever it is. So you can make a choice not to have it be a sad moment for you, but you do have to be intentional. You can't be there and just going willy-nilly. And then, like we started with, you certainly can't have that fourth glass of bourbon, because the alcohol is going to take you to that emotional place, and so you really do want to monitor your alcohol content. You definitely want to hydrate. With every glass of alcohol, you should have a glass of water. Okay, because the alcohol is going to dehydrate you and potentially have you to eat more than you want. So all those things are happening all at the same time, and I know it's hard to keep up with the emotions of the holiday, plus the potential to overconsume calories and not to consume enough water. But you do have to be intentional about being in that space and not being overwhelmed by whatever emotions that might come across your mind.
So I really like what Pete said about things being intentional. And the way I thought about this is that when missing somebody in our lives, that's natural. And so we got to accept that and not try to suppress it. But I also like the idea about intentional about creating new relationships. Because to me, that looks like the better antidote. Comfort food, alcohol, they're going to get you high, and then they're going to get you low. And for me, the way out of this is to meet the people, engage with them, to share with them, to get to know them, to see if you can grow something new than dwell on the old.
Well, I try to remember the wonderful things that went on when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I can remember when we did not have electric lights where I lived, but we always had a Christmas tree and we made our own stuff and it would look good.
Mhm.
I guess my mother must have been pretty creative because without electric lights, we had Christmas trees that looked great. And we'd always have a great big Christmas tree because all you had to do was go out in the woods and take grass and cut one down, bring it all back and fix it up, put these little strings and stuff on there. And so there wasn't much money to go around. And people during that era and where I lived learned how to make do without a lot of money. They make everything. We used to make popcorn balls and hang them on the Christmas tree. You know, you take some popcorn, pop it, and you take some peanuts and stuff and some syrupy looking stuff and glue it all together, hang it on the tree, and
Yeah.
you got your ornaments and stuff. So the creative way that people expressed Christmas, I still like it. I'm saying I know we're in the atomic age and I know we're in the technology age, but I still like the idea that Santa came down the chimney 3:30 with all these wonderful presents he left for me. So Merry Christmas, baby.
So you sure been nice.
Now
But
wait,
yeah.
now who is that again? Who's that?
So which Santa is that?
These are blues people, not hip hop.
Okay.
Just plain. But I tell you what, I met this gentleman Saturday night, Curtis DeBow. I sure did, and took a photograph, and we just had ourselves a wonderful, wonderful time. And I'm going to try him out because he said, "Hey, I like you, and I like what you do." So whatever it is, we'll take every bit of it.
Yeah. So I think those are the kinds of things, yes, it's saying sharing memories and sharing, even just sharing ideas with people, um, helps to keep those, helps to remove us from that state of sadness into a state of joy. And so that's really what we all seek joy, and we try to get away from those things that make us feel sad or make us feel the extra burden. And so like sometimes on holidays, I've seen people that that their time of what should be joy become a time of them going into this depression and sadness, because either they are not they haven't they're not doing anything to celebrate or anything to make them feel good about themselves and feel good about their situations. But sometimes, as Congressman David was mentioning, just reminiscing and then thinking about the times that you were younger, or even the time that were just different in our lives, that we may not have had what people have today, but we found some good times in remembering the time, but we did enjoy those times, and we didn't see it as a something to be sad about. It was something to be happy about because we whatever present that we received, it was something that we enjoyed, because it was appropriate for the time. People weren't getting cars for Christmas back then. As kids today they want a big Christmas present. We were getting smaller Christmas presents, but we had family, we had other things that brought us happiness that was continuous. And so it's those kinds of things that we have to involve ourselves in, and those kinds of people that we involve ourselves with that help us to get through these things and hopefully shorten our periods of holiday blues if that is something that we are going to experience. Now, as I talked that, when people are anticipating celebrating in some kind of way, because you got the Christmas coming up, and then after that the New Year. So people are looking to celebrate and to have a good time. And so when we start thinking about the Christmas dinner, and how do people figure out, hey, I've been during the whole year I've been working on trying to get my eating habits appropriate for living longer and living healthier. And now what do I eat? Somebody's going to cook a turkey and have dressing. Somebody's going to have some greens, and somebody's going to have potato pies and cakes. How do I choose? Why do I choose, or what do I do when I go to when I'm invited to dinner, and those are the things that are available for me? What do I do? How do I make choices?
Well, I like a lot of seafood. I eat everything I see.
Well, Dr. Miller, I was going to say, when I was in practice, I called this murderer's row for weight loss. You got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got New Year's, you got Valentine's Day. And those are usually times that we're exposed to lots and lots of food and high things, lots of calories and sweets. And so all I can say is we have responsibilities to ourselves, but I also feel responsibilities to the host and hostesses. And I was at a party this weekend where the mother of the hostess said, I ate all these desserts, and you better try them. So I had myself a small cupcake. I had myself a spoonful of cobbler. I complimented on her, but let me tell you, I'm still eyeing the vegetables and the fruits. But I think you can do both. I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I think the other thing people don't think about is there is a appropriate order in which you should eat things too. And if you're trying to blunt the sugar surge that happens, then you should consume the foods as follows. The fiber comes first, then comes the protein, and then comes the carbohydrate. So let me give you some examples. So if you're going to have your dinner, have your greens, eat the greens first. And if you can't, eat a second leafy green vegetable, like some Brussels sprouts or something like that. And what the fiber does is it prevents the sugar or the carbohydrate consumption, your sugar from surging up, which then prevents your insulin levels from going so high. So it's fiber first, protein, then comes the carbs. Now, I know some people, and maybe me included, we like to mix it all up. But if you wanna be strategic about these things, then really you should really be intentional about fiber, protein, then comes the carbs. That'll be really helpful because, again, if you can, stick to one carb. Like, I wouldn't do mac and cheese and mashed potatoes. You got to do, or mac and cheese and sweet and candy yams. You want to just do one. And again, it's all relative, right? So if you get a small portion of the mac and cheese, you can have another small portion of the candy yams. But that's provided that you possess the willpower to do the small.
Yeah. But and what about the potato salads and the white potatoes and the sweet potatoes?
Yeah. I mean, so just it's like I know I'm feeling like I'm Dr. Hampton right now, but like insulin is not your friend. So wherever there's carbs, it's particularly a high glycemic carbs, then insulin is gonna be a surge in insulin. So when your insulin levels goes up high, you store more fat. One of my old endocrine teachers used to always say, diabetics, they starve in a sea of glucose. So when the insulin is not working and it can't absorb the sugar out of the bloodstream, the sugar just keeps going up, 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 up. But when the insulin is there, the insulin is going to take that and store it as fat. So you want to keep your sugar levels low, and part of doing that is minimizing the amount, both the amount and minimizing when you eat those carbs. So you want to eat those carbs after your fiber and after your protein to help blunt the sugar surge. But the other thing is to make sure you're not taking in empty calories. So we're talking about Kool-Aids, lemonade, all the aids is not aiding you. Okay.
That's
All
right.
them aids, especially the one where the guy made it in the back with the bag of sugar, just he doing like this, that I can't tell you. That's the worst thing you can eat. So I mean drink. So less Kool-Aid, less even juice. A lot of the juice is high fructose corn syrup. It's like
Right.
I tell my patients all the time, I'm like, that's not healthy for you. It's healthy for the manufacturers. The more you buy, the more the stockbrokers are happy. But that juice, aka juice, is less fruit, it's less of the nutrients that's in it. So if it's cranberry juice, it's more high fructose corn syrup. And that's the way they get you hooked where you can't stop drinking it. But anyway, you want to take in less of those empty calories. I call them empty because it really doesn't have any nutritional value to it, right? All the nutrients that's in the orange or in the cranberry or in the apricot, whatever it is. Well, let's be honest. That big container, that's all sugar.
Sugar and flavor.
Yeah, we want to be conscious of that
What
too,
if it
because
says diet cranberry juice?
yeah, I mean, so Congressman, that's probably better than the other type, the non-diet, but even the diet still has the chemical that is just like sugar, just one compound is changed. And so the interesting thing is they did a study where they gave patients a diet pop and gave them a regular pop. And while the diet pop had 0 calories on it, when they looked at the patient's blood sugar surge, it was close to being the same. So there's something about your body. You can change that chemical, but your body knows this is just like that other stuff. Your body, your pancreas produced the same amount of insulin when you consume the diet, or when they gave those patients the diet Pepsi, or I mean to say a brand. I mean, it wasn't a brand, but when they give the diet pop versus the regular pop, the body produced the exact same amount of insulin. So it's something about it where, yes, there is that chemical that's changed where it's not sugar, but it tastes like sugar. So your small intestine was like, I don't know, this for the life of me seems like sugar. And so by the time the pancreas hit it, it produced the amount of insulin necessary. So what's the takeaway message is, if you can, water. If not water, if you're going to drink a juice, if you can, water it down, put a little water in it, lots of ice cubes. And at the same time, like my colleague said, it is one day, right? So I don't want to be obsessed with this idea of someone being at your family dinner and you can't have fun. You should have fun. If you want to have a glass of juice, let's be honest. I think the worst thing you can do is eat and drink and then be guilty about what you did. The best thing you can do is enjoy your family. Know that it's one day, it's one glass of juice. You don't want to go back 4 or 5 glasses. That's clear. But also just enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself, because I think the stress of that you'll put on yourself of like condemnation almost, because I'm a bad person. No, you didn't. You were just enjoying your family. That's it. That's all. It's over with. Now again, don't extend this into 2 or 3 days. That's when, okay, what are we doing now? What, the family is gone and you still got a plate of mac and cheese sitting there. Okay. So that's when you got to pull it on in and again, my thing is I want to make it easy for me by not having it in the house. So I'm giving it out as whoever's going out the door, they going out the door with a plate.
Mhm. Yeah. Now, what do we have any advice? I mean, it's you know, a lot of our hosts are cooks, and they pride themselves on making these dishes. How what advice do we have for them? Because their intention is to help people have a good time, enjoy themselves, and they pride themselves on being able to cook food that is tasty. And so, is there is there anything that we can tell them in terms of how they present their food or what they do, and that may be, you know, uh, can kind of help. You know, if you got 10 pies out there, that's a big temptation. So, so, so what advice do you have for the host?
Well, I think that I like that question. I really like that question. I guess the question is depends on the host and how willing they are to make sure there's something for everybody. You know, you could have two pies, then you could have a bowl of fruit. You could have melon, you can have berries, you have other things. You can have your turkey, you could have your ham, but then you could have some kind of vegetarian thing too. And for me as a host, I want to make sure that everybody's enjoying themselves. And so it'd be
Yeah.
sad if I'm seeing somebody not having a good time because I didn't offer them a good choice. So that's what I'm thinking is let's make sure that we have choices for everybody out there. And please don't push food on people. That's just my one recommendation. Have another piece.
Mhm.
Oh, you don't need to have another piece. Have another drink. They can choose for themselves.
I think that's good advice. Is you want them to have a good time, but don't, you know, have them having a good time to the extent that it's going to compromise them for the day after.
Yeah, I like that too, Dr. Doug. And I would also say I would be I would offer more fiber options, more greens, like just have an assortment of vegetables, kind of like you would for the carbs. So, like, they have mashed potatoes and mac and cheese and candy yams. Well, I would at least match that with having some greens and Brussels sprouts and string beans and just have as much fiber there because again, like to Dr. Doug's point, I may not be a green person, right? Or somebody may have put smoked turkey in the greens, and let's say I have high blood pressure. I'm concerned about the cured meat in the greens. Um, although I would say, that's probably overkill for your concern, but that's neither here nor there. If you think the cured meat is going to increase your blood pressure, then you might say, well, I don't want the greens because the green has smoked meat in it. But if you give people the option to have it, but here's some string beans, here's some Brussels sprouts, and then I would be considered. So like a lot of people put bacon in their Brussels sprouts. Now I would just maybe have some with bacon and some without. Just recognizing that everybody doesn't eat pork, or somebody might, again, that same person that's concerned about the blood pressure being raised by the smoked meat that's in the greens might also be concerned about the bacon that's in the Brussels sprouts. So just being, to Dr. Duff's point, being thoughtful about offering something for everyone. And we all have friends who have different ailments, diabetes, and so you want to offer. So instead of just having ice cream and cake and pies for dessert, you may want to have some frappes, something that's just less densely caloric, so that they're not like leaving their blood sugar 800.
Yeah.
So when the
You know,
brother
and I go
bought
ahead.
some drink last night at the Blue Note, I should have told him, nah, it's all right. Give me a shot of green bean. Arrogant.
One of the things that my mom, I guess after I started to talking to her about health and eating healthier, and when we would have family meals, that she began to begin the meal with raw vegetable, whether it be just a regular green salad or some other kinds of vegetables that are that she mixed together, and she would, that would be, so that would be the initial thing that she would serve. She would put that nothing else would be out for you. So you either ate, during that initial period, there's nothing to eat, or you ate that. And back to what Dr. Pete had said in terms of starting out with the fiber, and that sort of helped to protect you from some of these other things. And the other thing about that is that when you eat some of that healthy stuff, some of that stuff that protects you from some of the other things, that also there's something in your stomach, and now that appetite and that desire to eat more is subdued somewhat. And so yeah, having those just when we walk into these things, instead of having candy laying around, some calorie sticks and things like that for people to snack on if they're hungry at the beginning. And I know everybody come there to eat the main course, but if we can provide those things, we are probably going to help them to eat more, or eat less of the things that may be harmful to them, or less of the things that may cause problems, depending on what their disease process is, if they have one. And again, so after that meal is over, you consumed all of these calories that you probably more than what you generally should be consuming. What is it that what do you suggest that people do in terms of saying, 'cause you're not going to get up and go jogging. So what should people do? Yeah. What kind of activity? I'm saying, what kind of activity can we plan so that now everybody's doing something, so that there's some movement, there's something going on, that they're burning off of some of this stuff that we've consumed, so that we're not just storing it as fat.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dr. Miller. I think to be mindful of that, maybe like doing some charades or something that's fun and gets the brain moving, but also if somebody has to stand up and act out whatever picture or whatever that they saw, just anything like that. Because I know some of the more traditional things, I know in the African American community, we like to play spades and cards, but that still requires that you're sitting, right?
Yeah.
Even though your blood is boiling and you mad and all the rest of that, or happy, depending on the circumstance. But just something that will get people up and moving. So, and I think there's, you can even Google like different games that's more physically active. And you have to be mindful of what that means depending on who's there. You have people with various ailments, arthritis, and maybe on walkers and things. So, but again, being able to, like, charades is great because charades, old and young people can play it, and you can act it out whether if you're sitting or standing. But I think you're right. We should be mindful of what do we do not to leave people like wobbling out the door, after eating so much post holiday meal. So I would just recommend some games that can keep people moving. And also drinking water too, is important.
I agree with having some games, some dancing, and the kinds of thing, music that get people out of their seats, so that they're not just sitting, but they're up. They don't have to necessarily be moving, but they're kind of moving those parts of the body that they can move at ease. And so those are kinds of things that the host can make certain that's they're handy, and that there's a time that's going to be part of this gathering activity, because again, we consume calories, and now we want to be able to dissipate some of them, and not just sit around for the rest of the night and allow those calories to get stored or to damage to our body. So yeah, that's so those are some important things that I think that we got to remember. Now the other part of it is that again, celebration generally in most circuits involves some alcoholic consumption, and so and then so how do people, what do we do, and what advice you got to tell people? They came to have fun, and how do they do that without, again, doing it in such a way that it's now they, instead of just having fun, now they're causing damage or injury to themselves.
So, Dr. Miller, I always think about the time that you're there and the time that you go home. So you want to be able to arrive safely and you want to be able to leave safely. So that's my number one concern. That kind of ties in with that other question is you want to be able to go home that next day and not be so
Yep.
overfed and having so much partying that you can't do something the next day. So
Right.
if you can't move on the day that you're at the party, you should be able to move on the next day. So
Right.
again, I think having a pre-game plan, I think would be the way to go about that. And I guess sometimes you might need to say to your host, well, I really like this, but maybe I shouldn't have the third or fourth one. I need to get home.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. And then even again, like I said earlier, you got to have one glass of water per cocktail, and even before the cocktail. So you're really going one glass of water, cocktail, another glass of water. And in my mind, I would stay away from mixed drinks that has like the sweeteners and all the rest of that, because again, that makes you more dehydrated. We know most alcohols have between 100 to 130 calories, depending on if it's whatever type of liquor it is, vodka, tequila, bourbon, whiskey, cognac. So I forget the exact amount, but it's between 100 and 140. Now, if you add, let's say that the tequila, let's say it's 120 calories. But if you put that tequila in a margarita, it goes to 550 calories. So you took something that was 120 calories and you put it in some sugar and some lime and put some ice cubes on it and blah 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 blah, and next thing you know, you just consumed a Big Mac, right? Because it's 550 calories, right? And that's one margarita. Don't go for two, because now you at 1,000 calories. Imagine this. That's just in drinks. We're not including what's going to happen with the meal itself. And so I'm saying you have to be mindful of that, to say if you're going to have a shot, have just the alcohol content with a big ice cube with a squeezed lime in it. And that way you really cut down on all of the excess sugars. So that would be my suggestion. And again, like Dr. Doug said, don't go in there thinking this is New Year's Eve. Like, you got to have a exit strategy, if you will. And the exit strategy is that you're going home safely. You're going to get whoever you came there with home safely. And most important, you don't want to feel like a beaten person the next day. And so that does mean being intentional to say, hey, I'm going to have my two and that's it. I'm going to drink my water in between. I'm not going to have it in a big cocktail. So, if you want to stay away from the sidecars, the margaritas, the old fashions, and just have the liquor with a big ice cube in it, plus a little bit of squeezed lime juice. And again, that will keep your calories to a minimum.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying, Dr. Pete, is we want to have a good supper, but not the last supper.
There you go. There you go.
so so put a limitation on that you can have something to enjoy yourself and to be to participate with the other people that you are enjoying the holiday with, but limit what you consume, including your alcohol, including your foods, and then you end up having a joyous time that will allow you to have a joyous tomorrow, and not a sick tomorrow, and no tomorrow. And so that's what we want to do. We want to enjoy ourselves this holiday season, and we do that by celebrating with limitation on those things that may cause us harm, and give more time to enjoying the people that you're celebrating with, more time to sharing memories, and depending on what your beliefs are, and celebrating the real reason for the season, and and thinking about the blessings that you have that you're able to celebrate, and not worrying about what you didn't achieve that year, and just say, you know what, I've set some goals, and I set it here, but I came here. So it's time for me to begin to plan for how am I going to make that a little bit better next year, and not be sad that I didn't achieve or accomplish all the things that I wish to accomplish, because there's always going to be something else to do, regardless of even if your list was completed. There's still something else to do, and I think that the best thing that we can do is to know that this is a season of love, giving, and joy, and that will give us a lot of comfort. It'll help to feel us in a lot of ways that the other things that we're going to try to consume to make us feel good. Our feel good comes from some of those things, some of those joyous inputs, as opposed to trying to make joy come in other ways that has to do with having our brains to function in a different manner. All right, so Nikki, you've been hearing what we were saying. I know you weren't on all the time, but I'm sure that you heard. So what holiday advice you got?
I heard everything you said. I've been trying to help Dr. Mason. He's been having some technical difficulties.
Yeah,
So I was trying to help.
Hoping that he.
Yeah, I've been trying to help Dr. Mason navigate his way through his router problems that he had so he can join. But I think you guys have given some great information on tonight. Laura Leone is here and she says, good evening to everyone. Tyrena Newkirk Sutton is here and she says, good evening to everyone and happy holiday season. Connie Taylor is here and she says, good evening to everyone. Nellie Purnell is here saying good evening. Audrey Jaycox is here saying good evening. Patricia Porter Rollins is here and she says good evening. Nellie also says Merry Christmas to everybody. Linda Johnson is here and she says good evening to everyone, and she was laughing out loud to some things that you guys were saying. Virginia Knight is here and she says good evening to everyone. Nellie says she's also dancing, so I guess someone was talking about dancing or moving around. So she says dancing. Sunny is here and she says thank you, doctors. Tonight's conversation has been informative and funny. The humor really helps to drive the points home. This hour is truly a great service. Angela Taylor is here and she says good evening to everyone. And of course, Tamika Thomas. Dr. Mason's niece is here and she says good evening. My big pit bull, that's Go, my boy, he was saying good evening just as well.
Good evening too, huh?
Yeah, I know you guys heard him in the background. I truly agree with you, Doctor. Dr. Pete, I always drink a glass of water, a good glass of ice water before I leave the house when I'm going somewhere. And I also take one of my tumblers and I fill it with ice water and I drink it on the way there just as well. So usually by the time I get there, I am full and really don't want anything. And I may nibble just a little bit. Dr. Maya Green often talks about how I just nibble at stuff because I'm drinking a whole bunch of water before I got there. And that helps me to stay on my weight loss journey. So I think that is a great suggestion to give. But I also was talking to my doctor one day and he said that we should evaluate what we are doing when we eat, really learn our bodies. He said sometimes we're really not hungry, we're thirsty. Like you said, we're dehydrated and we're really thirsty and we think we're hungry, but we're really not hungry. So when I really began to pay attention to that made things a lot different. I am such a picky eater. Like I don't like sweet potatoes and yams, but I do like sweet potato pie. I know that's crazy, but I only want just a tiny bit. I mean, once I have just a tiny bit, a couple forkfuls, I don't want the rest. So my suggestion to people is to share things. And that's what me and a lot of my cousins do. We share things. Even if we go out to dinner, we'll get an entree and then we'll share it. So I just suggest to people, when you cut that caramel cake, share half of that piece of cake with someone else. Learn how to share things across the board.
Now, Nikki, everybody gonna want to share with you now. Somebody's gonna want their whole slice of pie. Okay, they're gonna be like, now you go share with somebody else because this all right here is me right here.
You are absolutely right.
So just be careful about that. But you know what? I agree with you. that is a great strategy, though. I love that. I love that.
But that's okay, Pete, because that person should, if they want, can have that piece of pie. Nikki's still okay.
Yeah,
He's
that's true.
yeah.
Mhm.
And what's funny is everybody in my group, they already know. Like one of my cousins said, well, Nikki ain't gonna eat all hers. I'm gonna get her half. So everybody knows I'm going to share everything, and I'm rigid about it. I will cut off a little bit and go, okay, you guys can have the rest. I am serious about sharing. Share it.
That's smart.
So guess what? That's our time. That is our time. I feel so sorry for Dr. Mason because he was really, really trying to get here. So I don't know what's going on or what has happened to him at this point. But, you know, as we always do, we're going to go around the table and we're going to say until next Monday. Oh, Pastor Crystal Kyles is here with us and she says, hello, all. Until next Monday. Well, Dr. Graham, until next Monday.
So I really like what Dr. Miller said. I mean, this is really a time of joy and comfort and companionship. It just means you got to be careful and not overdo it. That's all. And as you're going through it, think about last year, this year, and how you want to be the next day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Pete, you're until next Monday.
Yeah, until next Monday, I would say be intentional. You can hardwire this thing in your to benefit you. So I love the idea of drinking water prior to going to any events, bringing in a tumbler with you and just making sure that you finish that tumbler by the time you get to the event. The other two things that I think people forget about that I remind my patients about, and that's stress and sleep. I'm a big proponent of, you know, before I give a talk anywhere, I try to listen to a comedian to help relax me. And so we need to laugh more. Laughter will reduce your cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone that's responsible to protect you from hurt, harm, and danger, but it also helps you to store fat. So we do not want cortisol levels in your system if it doesn't absolutely have to be there. So lower your stress, get your sleep, drink your water, and not too many beverages. If you're going to have a beverage, just have the liquor, not the juice. The juice increases the calories and causes you to be more dehydrated. So that's my until next Monday.
So, Dr. Pete, with your until next Monday, I have two things for you. We have two anonymous, but we know who they are. One said, remember just to turn up all alone. And two, the second person says, next week, can we talk about how we can lower stress levels? So I want you guys to think about that and see if we can add that into our curriculum for next week. Right before I have Dr. Mason on the phone, he's going to do it until next Monday because that's how he's kind of been listening. But Pastor Crystal Kyle says she has a quick question. Does therapy really work for the hip? So doing therapy, does that work for your hip if you've had hip problems or hip replacements or hip surgeries or issues? Dr. Graham, why don't you grab that?
So I would like to say yes in all cases, but it really depends on what happened with the hip. If we're talking about bursitis, which is a friction issue, yes. If you have muscles that are strong on one side and weak on the other, yes. If you have a lot of wear and tear in the joint, and so the surfaces are no longer smooth, but they're rough, maybe not so much. So I think it really depends on the condition and if it's been an injury. If you slip and fall, if you have a break, a fracture, and you're recovering from that, yeah, then therapy will help. But it all depends on what's going on in that hip to begin with.
She says it's osteoarthritis, and that's what she placed in the chat.
Okay, so that's kind of what the problem is because osteoarthritis refers to the aging of the joint and the loss of that smooth covering of cartilage, which is like Teflon on a Teflon pan. The more that cartilage is lost, the more friction there is, and the more it hurts to move that hip. Most people are going to try physical therapy first because to go have something else more invasive, it's a hard thing to try. So most people do try physical therapy, but if you've lost all the cartilage, it's like having two rough surfaces rub against each other. It doesn't work very well. It's too much friction and it hurts. So that actually may help you with decision what's going to happen next.
Okay, Dr. Mason, thank you so much. Dr. Mason, you're until next Monday.
Well, the next Monday is that I would wish that everybody took in what they heard tonight and think about how, based on the recommendations that have been given, how they can apply this. Because at the end of the day, the real issue is, do you really want to be well? Do you really want to be well? Not just give lip service to it, but really do you want to make a significant change in the status of your health? And if so, then that means a lot of the things you've heard tonight are some of the things that you need to think about, not the least of which is drinking water, but thinking about the other things that we eat and put in our mouths. So I would say everybody needs to want to make sure that they really do want to be well, that they really do want to make a change, because it's not just lip service you can give that will make it happen. You have to be concrete and direct, and you have to do something. So you've heard a lot of things on the show that will help you. The question is, even if you can't do it all, try some of it and give an opportunity to see and how your body will respond. That's what I would say until next Monday.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. Dr. Miller, you're until next Monday.
Well, you're the king of the castle. You're the controller of what goes in, and you're the controller of your activities, and you often are a controller of what you allow to enter your, not just your mouth, but your being, yourself. And so you have to be able to control those things in a way that you avoid those things that are going to help to destroy you or help to hurt you or harm you in any kind of way, and to find something else. See, sometimes we don't we tell people, well, don't do this, but I want to say to you, you need to get options. You've heard this a lot tonight. Instead of you eating as much, drink more water. Instead of you drinking as much alcohol, drink more water. So you're the king of the castle. You have control. Exercise that control. And lastly, actually next Monday and the next Monday are holidays. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and enjoy this holiday season. And we'll see you in 24.
Outstanding. Well, Tamika Thomas says, don't wait until you are starving to eat. And Sandell Scott also says hello to everyone, that she is here just as well. Well, Congressman, take us home.
Well, it's been a great discussion, and I, like Dr. Mason, certainly would recommend that we try and make use of as much of what we've heard. And I appreciate it. But just so you don't think that the government is shut down, let me just mention some health stuff. North Illinois Institute of Technology just got a $664 million grant. Northwestern University just got $285,000. Northwestern just got $1,264,645. These are all grants. It's from Uncle Sam, the federal government. Northwestern got another one, $743,319. Then they got another one, $672,344. Then another one, $341,650. Another one for $390,000. University of Chicago, well, those aren't mine, but the University of Illinois, $152,470.
A lot of money.
University of Illinois, $544,022.39. University of Illinois, $768,000. And then University of Illinois that's in Champaign. That's not here. But I just wanted you to know that a lot of money was still coming to Chicago from the federal government. And this is the season of giving. And so we appreciate that kind of flow in terms of the money coming to be used at our university medical centers to address the health needs of our population and of our people. As we close down to near the end of the year, all that I really can do is say thank you to all of our panelists for the tremendous contributions that you have made and continue to make. And hopefully, somebody out there will take something that you've said, take it to heart, make use of it, live with it. You know, life expectancy is constantly going up a little bit, up a little bit. We're learning things we didn't know a little bit. I was reading the paper and we were all happy about the anniversary of Medicare and Medicaid. And hopefully we will get to the point where we will absolutely have health equity, health treatment for everybody without their ability to pay. And I think that's kind of the goal that some health activists and some physicians and some nurses and some doctors and some politicians would like to see. And that is a healthcare delivery system that provided quality,
Yes.
comprehensive,
Yes.
culturally competent health services and healthcare.
Yes.
Every citizen of this country, without regard to their heritage, where they came from, where they're going, what they hope to do, but just because we are Americans and we can all say, my country tears of thee. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you again. Treat the holiday season the way they've told you. If you do that, you'll be all right next year. So thank you so much. Have a good one.